It began with a name whispered across the deserts of Afghanistan, a name that shook the world. Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the deadliest terrorist attack on American soil. The man who, for over a decade, remained a ghost, vanishing through mountains, cities, and countries. For 10 years, the world's most powerful intelligence agencies searched for one man, and for 10 years, he was nowhere to be found. This is the story of how America hunted, found, and killed him. After the attacks of September 11, 2001, the United States launched the largest manhunt in modern history. Almost 3,000 innocent people died that morning. 4 planes were hijacked, 2 struck the World Trade Center towers in New York, 1 hit the Pentagon, and another crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers fought back. Within hours, U.S. intelligence agencies identified the prime suspect, Al-Qaeda, led by a Saudi-born extremist who had declared war on America years earlier, Osama bin Laden. Born in Riyadh in 1957, bin Laden was the 17th son of a wealthy construction magnate. But wealth did not bind him to luxury. It gave him freedom. Freedom to travel, to fund, and to fight. During the 1980s, as the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, he joined the Afghan resistance, the Mujahideen, using his fortune to build camps, buy weapons, and inspire foreign fighters. When the Soviets withdrew, bin Laden's focus shifted. His war was no longer against occupiers of Afghanistan, but against what he saw as Western corruption and the presence of American troops in Muslim lands. In the 1990s, he founded Al-Qaeda, meaning the base, an organization that would evolve into a global terrorist network. He attacked U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania in 1998, killing more than 200 people. He ordered the bombing of the USS Cole in 2000, killing 17 American sailors. But nothing compared to what happened on 9/11. After the Twin Towers fell, President George W. Bush declared a global war on terror. Bin Laden became target number 1. The United States invaded Afghanistan in October 2001, aiming to dismantle Al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban, who sheltered him. U.S. forces and CIA operatives chased him through Tora Bora, the rugged mountain range near the Pakistani border. There in December 2001, bin Laden was believed to be cornered. American bombers flattened the caves, but when troops entered, he was gone. The mountain had swallowed him. Years turned into months, and months into years. Bin Laden vanished from the map. Intelligence streams went dry. The CIA received hundreds of false leads. He's in Iran. He's in the tribal areas. He's dead. But none were true. Inside the CIA's counter-terrorism center, frustration grew. The agency reorganized, dedicating a special unit, the Bin Laden Issue Station, to hunt him relentlessly. Officers studied his family, his couriers, his habits, even his silence. They knew bin Laden rarely used phones or the internet. He relied on trusted messengers. One of those couriers would become the key that unlocked the entire mystery. In 2007, a detainee held at a secret CIA facility mentioned a man called Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. He was described as a trusted courier of bin Laden, loyal and silent. For years, the CIA had heard this name but never found him. Now, they had a lead, a shadow in the fog. It took nearly 3 years before they tracked his movements. In 2010, through painstaking surveillance, CIA agents discovered that al-Kuwaiti frequently traveled to an unusual compound in Pakistan. It wasn't in a remote village. It was in Abbottabad, a quiet city less than 2 hours from Islamabad, home to Pakistan's elite military academy. The location made no sense. Why would bin Laden hide near a major Pakistani military base? But the compound itself was different from anything nearby. The CIA analysts began to map it. It was built in 2005, surrounded by 12-foot walls topped with barbed wire. There were 2 security gates and no telephone or internet lines. The residents burned their trash instead of putting it out for collection. And though the property was valued at more than $1 million, It had no clear owner. When agents observed the compound through satellite imagery, they noticed something unusual. A tall man walking slowly in the courtyard, never leaving the property. They called him the Pacer. He resembled bin Laden's height and posture. But they couldn't confirm. For months, the CIA observed the compound from every possible angle. They built a small house nearby and filled it with cameras and analysts. They even constructed a full-scale replica of the compound at a secret US base to rehearse a possible raid. Still, no one could say with certainty. Was Osama bin Laden really inside? By late 2010, President Barack Obama was briefed. He listened carefully as CIA Director Leon Panetta laid out the evidence. It wasn't 100%, but it was the best lead they had in years. The president authorized an elite group to begin planning a mission, one that could change history. The group chosen for the operation was the United States Naval Special Warfare Development Group, known to the world as SEAL Team 6. Their orders were simple but incredibly dangerous: infiltrate Pakistan without detection, reach Abbottabad, capture or kill Osama bin Laden, and return safely. Every detail was critical, from flight paths to entry points, to what to do if Pakistani forces responded. Meanwhile, diplomatic tensions added risk. Pakistan was an ally on paper, but the US feared any leak could alert bin Laden and help him escape again, so the operation would be completely secret. No one in Pakistan would be told. The SEALs trained for weeks inside the mock compound. They memorized every doorway, every hallway, every blind corner. Each man knew exactly which room he'd enter. The mission had a code name, Operation Neptune Spear. The target code name, Geronimo. At the same time, analysts continued to study bin Laden's pattern of life. They noted that the mysterious Pacer appeared only during certain hours. A courier entered the main house through a specific. Children played in the yard, possibly bin Laden's grandchildren. The CIA even analyzed shadows in satellite images to estimate the man's height, around 6'4", bin Laden's exact height. By April 2011, President Obama called his top advisors for final deliberations in the Situation Room. Some urged a drone strike. Safer, faster, no boots on the ground. Others warned that without physical proof, bin Laden's death could never be confirmed. A failed strike might destroy the evidence, or worse, kill civilians and ignite international outrage. After days of intense debate, Obama made his decision. He looked at Panetta and said, "It's a go." The date was set, May the 1st, 2011. 2 Black Hawk helicopters would carry the SEALs from Afghanistan across the border into Abbottabad, flying under Pakistani radar at night. The mission was estimated to take 40 minutes. Every man knew there was no backup. If they were caught, Pakistan could shoot them down or imprison them. Failure was not an option. As night fell over Afghanistan, the SEALs prepared for departure. They checked their weapons, night vision gear, and communication devices. Each carried enough ammunition for a small war. The helicopter's rotors began to spin. The engines roared, but no one spoke. 23 elite operators lifted off into the darkness, heading toward the most wanted man on Earth. Back in Washington, President Obama and his national security team gathered in the Situation Room. A secure video link connected them to the CIA's command center. The room was tense. Every heartbeat seemed to echo. No one knew what awaited those SEALs on the ground. At around 12:30 a.m. Pakistan time, the helicopters crossed the border. Flying low through the valleys just above the treetops, radar evading technology helped them slip undetected into Pakistani airspace. The moonless night shielded their movements. As they approached Abbottabad, they saw the compound silhouette emerge from the darkness. Then disaster struck. One of the helicopters experienced a sudden loss of lift due to the high compound walls and unexpected air temperature. It crash-landed inside the courtyard. No one was killed, but the plan was compromised. The SEALs instantly adapted. The second helicopter landed outside the compound, and the team stormed in. Gunfire erupted. They shot and killed bin Laden's courier, Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti, who reached for his weapon. They cleared room after room, shouting commands in Arabic and English to get down. Hands up! Inside, terrified children and women screamed as the SEALs moved through the house. They climbed to the third floor, the last level of the main building. Behind a door stood Osama bin Laden. The staircase creaked as the SEALs climbed to the third floor of the Abbottabad compound. The air inside was thick, the walls closing in with tension. Each man moved in complete silence, trained, steady, lethal. Only the rhythmic click of boots and faint hum of radios broke the darkness. At the front of the formation was team leader Red, followed by Mark Owen, a veteran operator who would later write about that night. They reached a narrow hallway. Tall figure peeked from a bedroom door, then darted back inside. It was him, Osama bin Laden. The SEALs rushed forward. Two women suddenly stepped into the hallway, screaming. The first operator pushed them aside. Inside the room, bin Laden stood behind one of his wives, Amal al-Sada. He was unarmed, but in that half-second of movement, they couldn't take chances. Two shots cracked through the still air. One hit him above the left eye. Osama bin Laden, the man who had eluded the world's most powerful armies for a decade, collapsed. Instantly, it was 1:11 a.m. local time. The world's most wanted terrorist was dead. For a moment, there was only silence. No cheering, no celebration, just the sound of heavy breathing. Through helmets and the faint hum of rotors, outside, the team quickly secured the women and children. They moved through the rooms, photographing the scene and collecting hard drives, USB sticks, cell phones, documents, any clue that could lead to other Al-Qaeda operatives. Every second mattered. The explosion of the crashed helicopter could draw attention at any moment. They radioed the command center. For God and country, Geronimo Iquia, enemy killed in action. Thousands of miles away, in the White House Situation Room, those words electrified the air. President Obama, Vice President Biden, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and military chiefs watched the encrypted feed in silence. They couldn't see the live video from inside the compound, only listened to terse updates. When Panetta relayed the message, Geronimo Iquia, the tension broke. After 10 long years, justice had been served, but the mission was far from over. The SEALs still had to get out, alive. They had a downed Black Hawk inside enemy territory and Pakistani radar now lighting up across the north. They placed explosive charges on the wrecked helicopter to destroy its stealth technology. The blast ripped through the courtyard, sending flames into the night sky. Children in Abbottabad woke to the sound of explosions. Locals rushed from their homes, filming with mobile phones, unaware that history was unfolding next door. Pakistani air defense units scrambled to locate the intruders, but by the time radar caught them, the SEALs were already loading onto the backup helicopter. Within minutes, they lifted off. Inside the aircraft, they carried one black body bag, Osama bin Laden's. The flight back to Afghanistan was silent except for radio chatter. Each operator replayed the mission in his mind. Every corridor, every shot, every breath. They had done what many thought impossible. At 3:53 a.m., the helicopters landed at Bagram Air Base, CIA. Director Leon Panetta confirmed to Washington. The package was secure. A team of forensic experts immediately began verification. First came facial recognition, high-resolution photos compared to thousands of archived images. Next, DNA testing. Samples from bin Laden's relatives collected years earlier were matched against the recovered body. The result was unmistakable. It was him. When the confirmation reached the White House, President Obama prepared to address the nation. He walked into the East Room at 11:35 p.m. Washington time, cameras flashing. Behind the podium, his voice carried calm authority. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda. Outside, crowds gathered spontaneously at the White House at Ground Zero and in cities across the country. They waved flags, sang the national anthem, and shouted a single name: USA, USA. For many, it felt like a chapter closing. For others, the pain of September 11th could never truly fade. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, U.S. officials faced a sensitive decision: what to do with bin Laden's body. They feared his grave could become a shrine for extremists. After consulting Islamic scholars, they decided on a sea burial, conducted according to Muslim rites within 24 hours of death. At 1 p.m. local time, his body was flown to the USS Carl Vinson, an American aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea. A military officer read religious verses translated into Arabic. The body, wrapped in a white shroud and weighted bag, was placed on a board and tilted into the sea. Within seconds, it disappeared beneath the waves, ending the physical presence of a man whose shadow had darkened the world for decades. But the political storm was just beginning. In Pakistan, outrage erupted. How had the world's most wanted man lived for years undetected in a garrison city, surrounded by military institutions? The Pakistani government denied knowledge, calling it an intelligence failure. U.S. officials remained cautious but skeptical. The discovery strained U.S.-Pakistan relations, already fragile from years of drone strikes and mistrust. Pakistan's parliament condemned the violation of sovereignty. Crowds protested in the streets. Yet within the international community, there was relief and disbelief. In the Arab world, reactions were mixed. Some mourned a symbol of resistance. Others welcomed an end to an era of senseless violence. Inside the CIA, analysts pored over the treasure trove recovered from the compound: computers, letters, journals, and digital files. The documents revealed bin Laden was still deeply involved in Al-Qaeda's strategy, planning new attacks, guiding cells, even writing about media tactics. He had not been the retired recluse many believed. He was still commanding his global network from a walled compound less than a mile from Pakistan's military academy. In the United States, the operation became a defining moment of the Obama presidency. Images from the Situation Room became iconic, the frozen faces of leaders watching history unfold. But behind the symbolism lay questions. How did the U.S. manage such a precise mission without Pakistani consent? And what message would it send to allies and adversaries alike? For the SEALs, secrecy continued. Their identities remained classified. Their success was buried beneath code names and silence. Only years later did fragments emerge: training in mock compounds, the crash, the confusion, the brief face-to-face moment when bin Laden appeared in the doorway. The aftermath echoed through intelligence agencies worldwide. Counter-terrorism. Units intensified hunts for remaining Al-Qaeda leaders. Drone campaigns expanded across Yemen, Somalia, and the tribal areas of Pakistan. Slowly, Al-Qaeda's central structure weakened, though its ideology inspired new generations of militants. Still, the image of that night, the stealth helicopters slicing through darkness, the brief firefight, the announcement that shook the world, remained etched in collective memory. A decade after 9/11, justice had come full circle, not through vengeance, but through relentless pursuit, through satellites, agents, informants, and warriors who refused to stop searching. For families who had lost loved ones on September 11th, the news brought a measure of closure. Candles flickered again at Ground Zero. Names were read. People wept, not because the pain was gone, but because the man responsible could no longer hurt anyone else. Yet experts warned, killing one man would not end terrorism. The ideology would survive, morph, and reappear in different forms, from Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula to the rise of ISIS. But symbolically, bin Laden's death shattered the myth of invincibility that had surrounded him. Over the following months, journalists descended on Abbottabad. They found the compound abandoned, its walls pockmarked with bullet holes, bloodstains fading under the sun, Local kids called it the House of the Ghost. In 2012, the Pakistani government demolished it, erasing the last trace of bin Laden's hideout. But memory can't be bulldozed. Years later, CIA Director Panetta described the mission as a defining moment in modern intelligence history. It was the culmination of a decade of mistakes, patience, and perseverance. Every clue, every false lead had finally pointed to one ordinary-looking house in a city no one expected. President Obama would later say, "We give thanks for the men who carried out this operation, for they exemplify the professionalism, patriotism, and unparalleled courage of those who serve our country." The operators returned quietly to their base. No interviews, no medals in public view. Their success remained sealed in silence. But within the halls of intelligence agencies and the memories of those who lost loved ones, their names were remembered. In time, filmmakers, authors, and historians reconstructed the story, each from a different angle. Some glorified, others questioned, a few criticized. But the undeniable fact remained. On a moonless night in May 2011, a decade-long hunt ended in a walled compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. The world's most wanted man was gone. For America, it was more than revenge. It was a message that patience, intelligence, and justice could succeed where rage alone could not. For history, it marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. A reminder that evil can hide, but not forever. As dawn broke over the Arabian Sea, gentle waves rolled across the water where his body had been released. The ocean closed over him, indifferent and eternal. And somewhere above that vast horizon, the sun rose on a quieter world.